Creation is a very complicated exercise. Sometimes it's a moment of introspection, sometimes a vehicle to express what the artist carries inside. It's a way to communicate. Jason Chang and Darren Obvious work together and create together with all the implications that two minds working on one piece have. They call themselves the Peripatetics after this philosophical current. Jason and Darian has a degree of arts in the Cuban Superior Arts Institute and they have been working together since they were students. Now, they just presented some of their work in the Havana Biennale.
Tell me, how does
About the
public
Peripatetics,
react
the
to
contemporary art and the culture in Cuba, we talk with Jason Chang today in From Havana.
Well, Jason, thank you so much to accept this interview. You are part of this Havana Biennale now, but you're not alone in your work.
I am a duet. I have a personal friend and a companion that works with me. Her name is Diane Obvious. She is another artist. And yes, we are a duo and we are called Peripateticos.
Why Peripateticos?
Well, we decided to call ourselves Peripatetics because we like to do our work walking. Everyday life is the basically philosophy we use to create art. In our opinion, we believe that art can be any particular thing of an artist's life. It means conversation with your friends, or the time you spend doing normal, ordinary things, or working in your workshop. We decide that if we make art in every moment of our life, if we think art can be a vital part of everything we do, then we are doing art all the time. So it's basically quite similar to the philosophy they use in the Peripatetic school from Socrates, that they decide to make philosophy walking and talking. So it was kind of very interesting for us, the term, so we decided to apply it. Better we make it our term. So now when you talk about peripatetic in visual arts, it's more related to what the work we do. But anyway, it is applied to the kind of the way we make art, or the way we decide to make art for us.
So it's a decision.
Yes, it is a decision.
And how come you can, two different minds, how come you can get in the same stream of creation when people think in different ways and you both do the same thing? How can you work together as an artist?
I think it's a matter of empathy, because Darian has a very quiet character. She's a very quiet person, and I'm very annoying person. So we make a perfect complement. So when I'm very stressed, she said, "Calm down. We do this way." And when she's too passive, I say, "Okay, come on. We need to do it more aggressive." So I think we start working 5 years now. We start working since 5 years ago. And one day we were talking about art, drinking coffee in our rooms in the residence, and then we say, well, we should do something with this. It should be more than just talking. So we start to record all our conversations. So we have a big record of all the things we do in 5 years. Anyway, we have always been together in everything. We are friends. We are companions in school. We studied together here in the Faculty of Visual Arts, so it was easy for us to work together. We have the same space in our workshop in the cupolas, so our process were very related. She has ideas, I had ideas, not equal ideas. It's something interesting too, because each part gives a different perspective.
Of course.
And that's quite interesting, because it's not monothematic all the time. It's not, I want to talk about this, how can you do it the same?
You meet in the middle always.
Exactly. So she has a point of view, I have my point of view, and what we do usually is try to put it together all confronted, which is quite interesting too, because we always have different results. And I think that's why we have this kind of process of work. We don't have a finished masterpiece. We have a process that is always building itself. And one side has one of our visions, and the other one has Darian's vision, which is, it's not always the same.
What's the word you recall the best from your student period together?
Well, we started working in the last Biennale. Yeah. It was the first time we present a work together.
As a student at that time?
As a student in that time, yeah. And then when we decide to finish school in ISA, we make a thesis investigation and we make it together. And it was quite good because first we make a very, very interesting research about contemporary art in Cuba. Okay. And we make a book, an artist book, what we call a photographic essay. And then we make a garage sale, which was an event to make socialized artwork in a very cheap way. And we make the performance in this space where we are having the interview now. And I think, in my opinion, I don't know if Darian is the same, but my favorite piece was the photographic essay for the fireplaces.
That is that one.
That one we have here, yeah, exactly. And for me, it's a beautiful piece because in art, or artists, sometimes we say it's a circular piece of art. Okay. You know, it's perfect in every way you see it. You don't need to explain it, you don't need to present it because she can do it by herself.
That's the ideal.
Exactly. So it was a very, very hard work between us. I was in Germany and she was here in Cuba, and we tried to make our efforts together all the time to create the book. And at the end, we have a very fine result. It's a very interesting research. So in my opinion, the best one is the 25 places in Havana.
Really quick, you went to Germany to study.
Yeah.
And how was this experience?
Well, it's a very different context. Europe, it's quite different from Latin America. But it was very good for the research too, because in our work, we talk about the differences between the artistic production in Latin America and how our creation is very delimited by post-colonial context, undeveloped third world countries, and how art, especially from Latin America, it's very determined by the concept where we are creating. So to actually meet, I mean, the reference of art that you have in your mind as an artist is the Occidental art. Yes. Always is the biggest reference you have. So you go there, you go to the museums, you see the European artists that were called the artists of the world for a very long time. And then you say, okay, this is European art, now I know better what I do, and I know what is the difference between what I do and this. And you came back more clear about these concepts.
Tell me, how does the public react to your work?
It's quite interesting.
That's the reaction you were expecting from the public always? Or there's so many interpretations? Or you seek for one in specific?
Not always we expect a specific reaction because we know the art we do is complicated. So it's not what you understand as conventional art. If you come to one of my exhibitions or Daria or a work we make together, is not always expecting to find things hanging on the walls, you know? So it's complicated
She was explaining that to me.
Yeah, exactly. So not always you expect people react in a normal way.
Okay.
Because usually sometimes people ask you, so what we should do here? Or what are you expecting the people do with your work? We have a specific way of working. It's very peripatetic in the meaning that we always try that when you come to the space where we are working, we don't like to work in galleries. If you check many of the work we do, you're gonna notice that it's not working white galleries. This space actually is not an official gallery at all. It's very alternative spaces. We like to work in alternative spaces, and an alternative space gives a lot of options to people react to art. Because if you go to a place that is not institutional, you're expecting to find something different.
Yes, of course.
So yeah, we like to always, with very much respect to the people that come to our places, to be a little bit cynic and sometimes a little bit jokers. But yeah, we always try to create different situations, not the normal ones.
So you are used to break the norm, and so sort of
we like to do it.
So at what point an object can be considered art? At what extent?
Well, there was famous artist called Marcel Duchamp that say that the simple selection of the object for the artist became this in art. Of course, this completely changed the idea of art that we have, especially for the 20th century. So if you consider that, since the pop art from here, in the artist world, many things could be considered art. It's a complicated concept because it's not meaning that anything you can find can be considered art. But if an artist that comes from an artistic institution, is the way it works, decides to use normal, ordinary objects to create his speech, yeah, maybe that can be considered art. But it's actually the decision of the artist who determines the result of the artist's piece.
In that line, you told me that you made a garage sale, a garden sale, to fight, not fight, but maybe critique in some way the market and the way art is worth. So how do you rate the worth of an artistic piece? How does that work?
Well, that's an interesting question too. We don't know. You never know. What can be considered valuable in art or not, or more valuable than other things, it's a matter of merchants and institutions.
So the artist doesn't decide that?
No. You can put a price on the things, or the work you do, but I don't think any artist creates something thinking how much is going to sell it. Actually, that part always comes from the critics and the creators. They always put the prices. The thing about the market now is that it becomes a very powerful thing inside the art institution. Almost like they can determine the validation of the status of an artist. And because now we are living in a very interesting era for art. We are assisting a moment never seen before. You have social media, you have internet, you have mass media, you have a lot of things now that are working next to you, and as an artist it's quite complicated to present it and validate your art, and it's a problem too for the institution. So to determine how much can worth something, it's quite complicated, because you can find people selling art in any place of the world very, very expensive, and you can even question how good is that thing they are selling.
Yes. And
then you can find very interesting productions of artistic work that you can find it free on the streets. So the market, it's an interesting topic. But what we do with the garage sale, it was a good result, because we decided to take all our work, all our hanging walls work, yes, our paintings, our drawings, our pictures, to sell it.
I wasn't there. I would like to be there.
Yeah, you could buy a lot of things very cheap. But the idea was to finish with all that. And it meant like a catharsis process. So yeah, we finished with all this. We decided to put it here and sell it very cheap, because for us it doesn't have to be that expensive.
Of course.
It's that everybody could have our work. And then we start to make all the different kind of work, maybe not that commercial. But the idea of a garage sale was that. And maybe it's a little bit like making this question to the institution about if I sell cheap, how much are you going to charge me for it, right? Anyway.
If you have to make a definition on your words, what's contemporary art?
Ooh, what is contemporary art? I think now a lot of things can consider contemporary art. As an artist, you can do whatever you want. That's my concept. I always think that if you want to be honest with your process, you need to do what you like to do. It doesn't matter if the institution, the school, or the gallery says, I want this kind of art. If you want to be a truly sincere and compromised artist, you have to do what you think you need to do, what you like to do, and most of all, the thing that you actually believe that is art. And if you think art can be a performance or a production, I don't know, or make agriculture in some way, if you think that can have an artistic intention, then you should defend it as it. It doesn't matter other concepts.
So the function of contemporary art will be What?
Well, art is important in modern life, contemporary life, because as all the time in history, we always make a parameter of, it could be like a definition of society. If you want to study a process in time, I don't know, in history, you can see it by studying the artists of that period. Because most of the time, the artists make a reflection of everyday society. So art, most of all, it's a feed for the soul of people. Because the artistic expression is always trying to tell people, most of all, it's like a teaching, or we could say it's a way to say how people should live their lives in the most free way possible. But I believe it's important we keep the artistic production always as an important part of society, and people have access to art. I don't believe art should be just for closest scenarios, like just for intelligent or educated people. Or I believe art should be for everybody and should be the access. I like a lot the communitary artistic work. I think in the most minimal community should be an artistic expression, because it's important that people have interaction with the art. If you don't, then you have just, I think that's what make us different from animals. You know,
Sharing?
Yeah, no, I think the aspect that we have, that we are sensitive to the beauty, is what makes us different from animals, and that is art.
Yeah, logic sensitive, because they love, you know, the shining thing, but we can appreciate the work behind it, the way you do it. Yeah, I think I'm agree with what you're saying.
So I believe if we make art part of our everyday life, as we decide to do as Peripatetics, it's a way to maintain the soul open to the beauty of life and many perspectives. That's what I think it's important.
The work of what artist or artists do you appreciate the most? Do you follow the most?
Well, as a reference in our work, especially for our thesis research, we use a lot of Carnicer, which is a Latin American artist, very important, and also we have a very good influence of Etrushka. It was an American photographer that used to make photographic essays like the one we make with the fireplaces. In the Cuban contest, of course, there's Lázaro Saavedra, which is a very interesting artist. And most close of all is Luis Gomez art, because he was our professor, our mentor, our tutor. So we are very related to his artistic production. It's very related to the things, the topics we use in our work. So maybe Luis is a big reference for us in the artistic Cuban contest.
You were talking a little bit earlier that art should be for everyone.
Yeah.
What do you think would be the move to achieve that?
Oh, well, the university is a big thing for that. As a cultural institution, ISA is always trying to create bounds to the community, to other institutions, not cultural institutions, to reflect the work of the young artists in society. But I think education is important, because how people is going to understand that art is valuable for their life is if they don't know it, or if they don't have access to it. So the Bienal is a good space for that, because I think the Bienal brings art to the community, to the city, so everybody can be involved in the artistic process of many international artists, not just the Cubans. And more events like this, and more of the world of the cultural institutions, not just the university. We have a big Minister of Culture in Cuba with a lot of institutions. It's the best way to take the art to the public. If you don't show it, if nobody sees it, it's not happening, or it doesn't exist.
Well, you're not alone. We were talking about in the beginning. I know she doesn't speak English, but I think she's an important part of the creational process. So I think she would be there, and people should know.
In her spot.
People should. You want to sit there?
Sit here.
She's an important part
Yeah,
of,
she is.
of
We've been, like I said before, we've been friends, and we are always working together. It's a very good duet we have here, very fructiferous, because we find out that our perspective of art were good combined together. So yeah, it's.
I have a question. I write, I mean, I'm a journalist, and I write sometimes. I don't like that an editor or people touch what I write.
Yeah.
So, but I understand I have to let go sometimes because it's for good, for the good of the work. How do you feel as an artist, or how an artist feels when he or she has to let go a piece or to a gallery, or he give it away? How do you feel? Because for me, that's part of my being, and let it go and not see it any time again. That's hard.
Well,
how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
Even when your work is not that not for collections and stuff, but commercial. Yes.
Well, if we like the art we do, it's complicated. Yeah, indeed. But well, we took decisions. For example, for the book, we make one copy only. And many people say, why don't you make an edition so we can have a lot of them? And we decided, no, this makes it unique. So in our exhibition, somebody tried to buy it, but we decided we don't want to sell it. So we keep it for ourselves. We show it in
of course
places where we decide to put it. But yeah, we decide not to sell. Sometimes the work it's about to show it, to socialize it, but it's not about to sell it. But sometimes you need to let it go, because in the garage sale we sell a lot of things. For 5 years in ISA, all our paintings, our drawings, our pictures, our videos, we sell a lot. Maybe 5 years of work, it was a lot, and very cheap way. But it was fine for us because we were doing art, selling that art. So it was kind of a process inside another process. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that was the idea. Basically, idea was to create art doing other things, like selling, like being your own marchand, your own galleries, your own curator. Yes. So it's something we are trying to promote a lot. Like this exhibition, for example, the artists we work here, we decide to make our own curator work, our own process of montaigne. We make it every day.
That's not common. That's not
no, usually in the Biennale, many artists try to use representative or famous curators to do their work because it's good representation, but we don't. We decide to do it ourselves. In our opinion, as artists, who better than us to talk about our process and to analyze our work? So that's give us a little bit more independent for the work. So if you decide to sell or not to sell, if you decide to use your work for something or give it like a present, like something you just want to give to someone, if it's an intention behind that, if you can make art from that, for us, it's fine.
So what's up with you guys after the Biennale? What's coming next for you?
Well, we never know.
So you didn't have a
no.
project in mind or
well,
working process?
Well, we usually, the first time we make a project for the thesis, because we have to do it, but we usually are talking and we say, this is something we should do. Because if you force it, then it's not peripatetic. It's the way we work. But anyway, we are planning to make an exhibition in the next month, maybe in July.
Okay. Because
we want to make the photo book, we want to make printed pictures with that. So
and bigger scale.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to present our completely research in an exhibition, but it's going to be not an exhibition.
It's going to be here in Cuba.
Yeah, it's going to be here in Cuba. It's going to be a show research, is how we call it. Yeah, we invent concepts for everything we do.
That's art. That's also art to create.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for this opportunity.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure and an honor to learn from you guys.